I'll tell you guys a little something that I've been thinking about. I had one beer, so bear with me. This is actually perfect. Okay. So I came to LA when I was 18, pretty much straight out of high school. And I had applied to colleges because I was going to go to film school, but I knew deep inside that what I really wanted to do was act. So I convinced my parents that it would be a good idea for me to take a year off before going to college and explore LA and the movie biz. And I remember waking up every morning for the next few months, and I would just panic. And I would think, what have I done? What the hell am I doing here? I was always the kid who was going to go to college and probably get a master's and even a PhD. And I was always, smart and balanced and destined for success. And yet here I was, not having a clue where to start or what to do, just knowing that a part of me insisted on giving this acting thing a shot. So I would lie there, staring at the ceiling in the morning, thinking, I'm making a huge mistake. I am going to ruin my life. I'm going to be one of those losers who never went to college and works a dead-end job, and I'm going to be a failure. I performed a one-woman show, and some of you have seen it. That's like the last time I saw Scott. One of the last times. And the show was very revealing of my issues with relationships and fears of intimacy. And anyway, to my surprise, it was successful. People responded to it. They related to it. They laughed. They laughed a lot. And to be honest, before the first performance, I had no idea the show was that funny. I mean, I exposed a lot of my shortcomings, and I did it in a light-hearted fashion for the sake of humor. I revealed my frumpy awkwardness, my imperfections, my lack of normalcy, but I was just acting, right? Well, as I performed the show time and time again, I began to discover, to my ego's great disappointment, that the reason the show was funny is because it was all true. Here I thought I was joking and creating a caricature of myself, and the next thing I know, it was not a caricature, it was me. Plain old me. So it felt increasingly like self-betrayal. But I thought, it'll all be worth it, because the show was about love. And after opening my heart for the world to see, how could I not attain love? Not just love, but true love. But show after show, there was no sign of Prince Charming, no man of my dreams. And after feeling like I stood naked in front of a room of people and turned around very slowly, revealing every single imperfection, courageously being vulnerable and sitting through my fears in front of a concentrating audience, I still went home alone. Completely alone. So I was left to sulk and self-pity. And when it was all over, I was left wondering, well, what was the point of that? And I fell into a deep depression. I basically felt like a failure. My closest friends didn't understand. They insisted I had accomplished a lot in my 23 years of life at the time. They reminded me of the movies I had worked on, and the poems I'd written, and the one-woman show. Remember the one-woman show? But it didn't matter. I felt like I had nothing. If I had been successful, I would have love. Or lots of money. Or at the very least, some sort of high recognition that propelled my career to a new level. Fame, perhaps. But I had none of these things. I still worked at Starbucks, rented a room and house for $300 a month, had a tiny source of income, half of which was my parents being kind enough to help support me while I tried to realize my dream. What a waste of money, I thought. With a little help from my dog, Broccoli, who came into my life at that point and made me realize I still had it in me to laugh, and with a little help from therapy, and with some determination on my end to figure out what the hell was wrong with me, I discovered what was wrong was I was too freaking hard on myself. All I could do was focus on what I wasn't doing right, what wasn't the way it should be, what wasn't perfect. So much so that I never stopped to recognize what I was doing right, or how hard I worked, and how plenty good enough it all was. I was so focused on my fear of falling short or not working hard enough, my fear of failing, that I could not see my success, and I did in fact inhibit it. Over the years, I have found myself bouncing back and forth between what I believe is real, true, honest success, and what I feel or think others or society believes or considers to be real, true, or honest success. And I battle all the time with that part of me that says, what the hell are you doing? What have you done? You're wasting your time. You're going to be a loser. And I'll tell you, that part of me, I'll call her the bitch. She means well. She really does. Like a parent who only wants the best for her child, she insists on warning me about everything that could go wrong, to the point where she often convinces me that it has already gone wrong before I have even attempted it. She wants so badly for me to avoid failure that she leads me right into avoiding success. Because if you don't try to accomplish anything, then you won't fail at accomplishing it. I'm 26. I will be 27 in March, and I see my friends going to school and finishing their masters and working on their PhDs and getting engaged or married or getting pregnant and having babies. And
Boom.
I often feel like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. Why, God, why did I have to be an artist? Why? Couldn't I just be normal? But no matter how much that bitch shows up in my head, there's another part of me, we will call her my higher self, that tells me to breathe. That reminds me that success lies not in what you accomplish, but how you accomplish it. Success is what you do when you have nothing. Nothing to hold on to, nothing tangible, not an idea, not a loved one, not even a passion. It's creating a new dream when another one has died. It's living through the loss of faith in life and choosing to regain it. It's getting back up after you've fallen and just trying again. And ultimately, I think the true test of success is really most times anonymous. It's in the moments that we have nothing to lose or to gain, in the moments we are alone, and in what we choose to do when nobody is watching and nobody else is affected and there's no reward to be attained. The only true failure that I have experienced is not recognizing my own strengths and over-focusing on my weaknesses. It's the insistence that I am not and will never be good enough. And it's the beating myself down to the point where how can anyone believe in me if I don't believe in myself? So just to end the night, one of the things that inspired me to talk about failure and success was this poem. So I wanted to read it to you guys. It's called The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. A friend of mine emailed it to me, and I sometimes read it to myself before I go to bed just because it makes me feel good. And it goes like this. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for. And if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dreams, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own. If you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty, every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours or mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after a night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments.